All right, welcome to Ghost Tales, where we have a little fun diving into spooky tales of the supernatural, just having a little fun conversation about what people have experienced and seen, and learning a little bit about history of the area as we go along. Here with me today from Bacon's Castle is Brenna Geraghty. She's the education manager for Preservation Virginia. And we've also got Sarah Carson, the project coordinator for Bacon's Castle, who also coordinates the ghost tours. That must be such a fun job.
It really is.
So talk a little bit about, let's go over the history of Bacon's Castle. It's in Surrey County,
That's right.
which not everybody knows about, probably, because it's way out there in like Suffolk, almost over by Smithfield.
Yeah, we're actually east of or west of Smithfield. So Surrey County is one of the most historic counties in Virginia. It was established as a county in the 1650s, and Bacon's Castle was built shortly after that.
Oh, wow. So how early do we think Bacon's Castle was built?
So Bacon's Castle, we know, is constructed starting about 1665. That's the dendrochronology date we've gotten. And probably takes several years to construct. It's a brick house, which was really unusual in the colonial period, in the early colonial period, I should say. So it probably took several years to just manufacture the 1,000,000+ bricks that were used to build it. It's built on land that was traditionally the territory of the Kiowa people, who were part of the Powhatan chiefdom. And there's a treaty that goes into place in the 1640s that ends up ceding that land to the English. So Bacon's Castle is built at a time when Surrey County is really kind of just beginning. And it is a site of enslavement as well. So we have a history of enslavement at Bacon's Castle starting in 1673. And of course, that'll continue all the way up until 1865. So very, very historic site.
Gotcha. And it's called Bacon's Castle, but we think of Nathaniel Bacon, but he never lived there.
That's right.
And,
yeah.
and explain kind of why it's associated with Bacon's Rebellion. Explain what that was.
So Bacon's Rebellion is an armed uprising that takes place in the colony in 1676. So a lot of times people like to equate it with kind of the early stirrings of the Revolutionary War, but it really has its own unique instigations for it. So Bacon's Rebellion, it's spearheaded by Nathaniel Bacon. A lot of colonists at this period are frustrated with the way that the colonial government is handling things. There's a lot of bribery that's happening. There's a lot of the governor promoting his friends to positions of power, even though they're not qualified. There's a lot of issues with how the governor is refusing to interfere on the colonists' behalf with indigenous groups, especially in the western part of the colony. So all of these things really come to a head in the summer of 1676. And Nathaniel Bacon leads about several hundred colonists to the capital at Jamestown, and they burn it to the ground. So during Bacon's Rebellion, which ends up lasting about 6 months all told, a group of about 70 Bacon supporters in Surrey County target the house of Arthur Allen, which is now known as Bacon's Castle. So they end up kicking out Allen's mother. Allen at this point has already fled. They kidnap a few of the servants, and they end up occupying the house for roughly 3.5 months. They're there from mid-September until late December of that year. So it's named after Bacon more as a nod to his supporters occupying the house and kind of fortifying it and using it as this fort, which by 17th century standards, a fortified house was a castle, rather than it being an acknowledgement that Bacon ever lived there. We actually don't think he set foot on the property.
Okay. So it was just kind of set up as a, this is where we're going to set up camp for the time being during this revolution.
Arthur Allen was a wealthy merchant, so there was an aspect of looting as well. They wanted to take his valuable trade goods.
Oh, wow.
But it was also a very well built. It's a house with 2-foot thick brick walls, so it would have worked pretty well as a strategic fortification as well.
Yeah, here we see it. Is this kind of a good representation of
Yeah,
the castle as a whole.
so
Yes.
this is the castle as it looks today. The kind of square looking addition on the side with the really large windows. That was added on about 1854. The part that's original that the rebels would have occupied is the part over to the side that's more rectangular. We've got that tower on the front, and then those double triple rows of chimneys. Those are kind of our iconic architectural feature.
Yeah, it's
At
beautiful.
Beacon
So
Castle.
Arthur Allen lived here he was a wealthy merchant. He lived there with his mother. Were there any other family members that lived there as well?
Yeah, he and his wife Catherine had 7 children while they occupied the house. And this is actually the second Arthur Allen to live on the property. His father probably begins the construction but doesn't live to see it completed.
Okay. Because as you said, it took quite a long time to
Yes.
build this type of house.
Yeah, but the investment in materials really will be a good investment long term. The Allen family continues to own Bacon's Castle for almost 200 years.
Wow.
So they're there for quite a long time.
Yes. And so we've also got ghost tours going on at Bacon's Castle, and they go on pretty frequently, pretty regularly, right?
Yeah, I do them once a month during most of the year, and then June, July, and August we'll do two a month, just because it's summertime and people are looking for things to do. And then in October we have what we call Haunted Bacon's Castle, and we have a paranormal group, CPRI. That comes out and sets up, and we do the ghost tours and things like that, and have a little bit of extra stuff going on the property. So it's a lot of fun.
That's so neat. And I love it. I was telling you before, it sounds like this is one of the few areas that actually has an ongoing ghost tour or ghost walk throughout all seasons of the year.
Yes.
So that's really special. That's really neat. All right. So we're going to stop for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about kind of strange happenings, things that people have witnessed, experienced while visiting Bacon's Castle. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Ghost Tales. We've got folks from Bacon's Castle here with us today. So excited about this. We're going into kind of what people have experienced when they go and visit Bacon's Castle, which is in Surrey County. And it's over in, Suffolk, kind of a little remote, but worth the drive, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely. Lots of historic stuff to do in Surrey.
Absolutely. And so, Sarah Carson, you lead up the ghost tours that go on almost on a regular basis, basically throughout the year. Talk about, first of all, tell me about the help you have when you're doing these tours.
So I have volunteers that come and help me. I have two in particular that have been helping me for the last 4 years. That's Lisa Lugar and Amy Jordan. They come out. If I couldn't have them, I don't know where I'd be to be able to do those tours. But no, they help me out a great deal.
That's so neat. And so I can imagine a lot goes into these ghost tours if you're doing them on such a consistent basis.
Yes, because we do at least once a month. During the summer, we do them twice a month, but we have 3 tours in one night. So
Wow.
and it's a pretty packed house.
Yes,
So,
I can
but a lot
imagine.
of fun for sure.
I can imagine. Okay, so talk a little bit about what people have seen, what they've experienced when going on these ghost tours or just visiting Bacon's Castle.
So I actually have a book here. After the ghost tours, or even during the day on our historical tours that we give, we have a form that people can fill out, the guest, if they've had an experience while they're at Bacon's Castle. So there's almost 300 of them here
Oh
in the
my
last
goodness.
3.5 years that I've tried to keep track of. But we have people that have said they've seen a lady in white walking around the house. We also have, we even have pictures that people have taken of a little boy's face that's peering out of one of the windows. We have video recordings of, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, orbs, there we go, that are floating through the house in different areas. and our paranormal team has also captured some of that.
So neat.
It is.
A little boy's face
Yes.
peeking out of a window, is it the same window every time, or
No, it's actually been two different windows. One on the first floor of the main part of Bacon's Castle. The other one has been caught 6 months later, so not even the same time period, up on the second floor, furthest window on the front of the house. So,
okay?
yeah.
Do we know who this little boy is, or
No, we do
No.
not.
it's just a little boy who
Just
pops
a
up?
little boy's face who pops up
just having fun.
in those windows. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about the Bacon's Castle light you're referring to it as.
Yes, so Bacon's Castle Light, it was actually a comet that was seen flying over the house in the year 1666. It was said to have foretold Bacon's rebellion, which Brenna got to talk about a little bit ago. And it also foretold that a plague of locusts was going to come and destroy the crops in the colony. A year later, we had this 6 month long rebellion, Bacon's Rebellion. And that same year, a plague of locusts came and destroyed all of the tobacco crops within the colony of Virginia. So, but the light's been seen multiple times over the decades of the first appearance of that comet. And in the 1920s, there was actually a church. It's right down the road from Bacon's Castle on the corner. It's called Bacon's Castle Baptist Church. And there was about a dozen people standing outside after this revival they had going on. And they all looked up into the sky and saw this ball of fire that was flying through the air. It looked like it had left one of the cemeteries that's kind of diagonal to the church on Route 10 and flown towards Bacon's Castle. And then a couple seconds later, it had turned around and flown back to the cemetery over there on Route 10. They were all in awe of this light that they actually reported it to the local newspaper. So all of their accounts was written down and taken a credit for seeing this massive ball of fire flying through the sky towards Bacon's Castle.
Wow. I'm getting chills. Okay, this is crazy. Oh, so we think it's kind of a continuance of that comet
We believe so.
going over Bacon's Castle.
Yes.
That is so neat. So how often do people see this light?
So it's been seen several other times. There was a tenant farmer that said she had seen it when she came home from the market one day. It was just hovering in front of the house.
So sometimes it doesn't move.
Correct. She said it kind of just, it was hovering there and it kind of just dissipated and disappeared and was gone.
Oh, wow.
And then I don't think it's been seen within the last 60 years, probably. I met a gentleman about 3 years ago. He said that when he was a little kid, him and his friends would actually go out to the cemetery on Route 10 in the middle of the night to spook each other. And they watched this ball of light leave the cemetery and fly back towards Bacon's Castle. But they didn't stick around long enough to watch it come back, apparently.
I'm not sure I would
I
either.
probably wouldn't either, no.
It's very much embedded in the Surrey County traditions
History, yeah.
and stories.
Yes,
It's a big
absolutely.
part of
Okay, we're
stories.
looking at a old picture of Bacon's Castle. When was this picture taken?
So this is an early 20th century picture of actually the back of Bacon's Castle. During that period, it was being rented out to tenant farming families. So like that family that Sarah mentioned. So this part of the house was kind of in a slightly a state of disrepair at the time, and it's just a very interesting photo. The back of the house now looks quite different from this, but if you want to see it, you have to come out and
Check
visit.
it out.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we've got a spooky, with the
The curtains.
the curtains
Yes.
blowing out of the
Billowing
window the way it
curtains.
is. Yes, it kind of looks, a little spooky
Yes.
or there. So talk a little bit about the ghost tours that you've got. How often are they on certain nights or?
So I do them at least once a month. They're on a Saturday night. There's 3 tours each night that we do them. The first one's at 7. The second one's at 8:15, and the third one's at 9:30. And they're an hour long, so you get to tour the entire inside of the house to do the ghost tours.
That's so neat.
And then, so that's most of the year. And then June, July, and August, I do two a month, same time, 7, 8:15, and 9:30. And then in October, we do the 2 haunted nights at Bacon's Castle. And that's when our CPRI, our paranormal group, Center for Paranormal Research and Investigations, comes out and helps us with our haunted nights. But we also do a ghost tour on Halloween night also. So,
And I imagine it's a lot of walking since it is an hour long, so
Yes.
people should be prepared
yes.
for that. Bring their sneakers or comfortable
Right.
shoes to walk.
And bring a flashlight.
And bring a flashlight. Have fun. All right, and we're going to talk about the paranormal team that came out to Bacon's Castle and what they discovered coming up after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ghost Tales. We've got Bacon's Castle with us today. A couple folks talking about the fun history and fun things that people have seen and experienced, and it's giving chills. Quite honestly, this is really, really neat, interesting stuff. So, talk about the paranormal team that's come out to Bacon's Castle, CPRI. What does that stand for again?
Center for Paranormal Research and Investigations.
All right, and they come out on a pretty regular basis.
Yes. So they come out both nights in October to help us with our haunted Bacon's Castle. And then they do their own private investigation. Usually it's in February time period. And they come out. When they come out to help us with haunted, they set up the entire house with their equipment. They're a very scientific group, and they've been coming for the last almost 15 years out to Bacon's Castle to investigate. Bacon's Castle has pretty much become their laboratory for investigations. I know that they have gigabytes and gigabytes of data of paranormal happenings, and I think probably over 75% of it they can't explain what's going on.
So
yeah.
what kind of things are they discovering there at the castle?
So, in the last couple of years, they have been able to record on video shadow figures that have been going through the basement part of Bacon's Castle. It's almost as if they're using the entryways in the basement that are now bricked over. So there tends to be shadow figures that move through that area. They've also caught a lot of different orbs that have been happening in different rooms within the house. I can't say they've caught the lady in white yet. We're still fingers crossed hoping for that, but
She may be very selective
very
about who
selective.
she shows herself to.
Very selective. So,
And when people do see the woman in white, how do they describe her? Is she actively moving through the house? Is she doing anything? Is she just standing there, or how?
Yeah.
She's pretty active when people do see her. We had a docent that worked for us. It's been probably about 8 years now, and she came in to open up the house for the day, and she just happened out of the corner of her eye see this lady dressed in full white. She said there was enough detail in her that you could actually see her fingers in her white gloves holding on to the railing of the banister on the staircase. And it kind of freaked her out a little bit. She even called the police, and the police came out and did an investigation to make sure that there was nobody in the house that wasn't supposed to be there. So, but I've even done, it was about 6 months ago, a ghost tour where I had 3 of my guests that actually saw a lady in white standing next to me on the tour, and she kind of just turned and walked towards the windows and just disappeared. So I have never seen her. I don't think Brenna's seen her. We're not one of the fortunate ones to be able to see her yet, I should say. But
Goodness. Oh, more chills. Okay. Oh, wow. And so much detail on the gloves and the
Yes.
fingers and everything. That is so
Yes.
interesting.
It is very interesting.
Now, what else has CPRI found? Do things move in the castle, or is it just sightings of orbs and ghosts?
No, we have a lot of noises that go on through the house. It's really weird how you'll be in one room, and they catch them on what we call EVPs. It's recorders that we put in a room. If nobody's in that room, sometimes we'll pick up noises or even voices. And a lot of them are of like what sounds like furniture being dragged across the floor.
Or boxes
Or
falling
boxes
over.
falling over.
We've heard that one.
Yes, we have, and it's quite clear. One of the other interpreters that I worked with 2 weeks ago, her and I were closing up for the day, and all of a sudden we hear this like roar of voices coming from the basement area. And we know nobody else is in the house with us. We've already closed up. We're getting ready to leave. And we both look at each other like, what in the world is going on? But that's kind of the norm. We get a lot of voices within Bacon's Castle when nobody else is there. When we're opening the house or when we're closing up.
Often it'll happen, I think, when nobody else is there and the interpreters are there. I was there with one of our interpreters one day, and we heard a cat meowing, and we were like, oh my gosh, a cat. And we were like planning for my coworker
and
was gonna
catch it.
take the cat. Like we were like, you can have a pet cat, like if we find this cat, how did it get in? We were very convinced there was a cat, and we looked and looked and looked, and we could not find that cat. Well, a couple weeks ago, the restoration crew who do all of our repairs to the house actually found a brick from 1665 from when the house was being constructed that has two kitten tracks in it.
Oh,
And actually, the
goodness.
Miami Herald just did a piece about it. So if you look up Bacon's Castle Miami Herald,
Herald.
you'll find the pictures
How
of the brick with the
neat.
kitten tracks. So that was just kind of neat for us.
That got added to it. But then we've also had guests in the last couple of months too that have said they felt what felt like a cat, kind of like, you know how they run through your legs to try and get your attention. That they
Brush
felt
past
that.
you.
Yeah. So
Wow.
we apparently have a ghost cat now.
Well, that's the best kind of
Yeah.
ghost pet to
Yeah,
have.
Yes,
I
or one of
think.
those.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so neat. Okay, so what other events do you have going on at Bacon's Castle besides the ghost tours?
So our upcoming ghost tours are June 14th and 28th, July 12th and 26th, August 9th and 30th, and then September 20th, and then on Halloween as well. Our 20th century event, where we really highlight the experiences of people who have lived and worked at Bacon's Castle in the 20th century, which draws out a lot of community members, which is great. That's going to be on September 7th, and that one is an open to the public day. Our Haunted Bacon's Castle event is October 11th and 25th. Our Bacon's Rebellion event, which really highlights the history of how the rebellion affected the house and how it affected Virginia history as a whole. That's going to be on November 8th. And then our first Renaissance Fair is November 15th and 16th. It's going to be called Tournament of the Castle. And it should be a pretty big event. We've got
That's pretty exciting.
the
It's gonna be awesome. I'm excited about
yeah.
that.
We've
New
got
event.
the Tidewater Dogs of War, who do armored medieval battling
Oh, wow.
with blunted weapons. There's no real danger, except one of our coworkers does it and she dislocated her shoulder doing
Oh, dear.
But it's really fun to watch. They do a great job. They're going to be out at that on the 15th and 16th as well. So.
How neat. Okay, well, so fun. So people can find these dates online. Where should they go to
So
sign up for these?
Our website is www.preservationvirginia, all spelled out, .org. And you can go and find all of our sites. So we also have 5 other sites in addition to Bacon's Castle that we manage as Preservation Virginia. But if you just click on Bacon's Castle, you can find the events calendar on there.
Gotcha. And they've
then-
got tickets for the ghost tours?
Yes, so it'll link you to the ghost tour tickets are actually on eventbrite.com. And if you just type in Bacon's Castle haunted tours, it'll pop up with everything that we have going on. So
Neat. Awesome. So go out to Bacon's Castle. It won't look like that fantastic picture that we've had up, but it'll look something like that, hopefully. And go and experience all these wonderful spooky things out in Bacon's Castle in Surrey County. So grateful to you two for coming today. Thank you so much for coming and sharing everything. And this has just been chills galore the entire episode. So thank you very
Our
much.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so go visit Bacon's Castle, and we'll see you next time on Ghost Tales. We'll scare up another spooky tale to have fun with. We'll see you next time.